I hope that sticks around. I don't know who's in charge of it. That's the great thing. I don't think anybody's in charge of it. Yeah, it just happens. I think it's great.
It's organic.
Except for mine.
I passed by the water on my way in. I'm going to get some. Does anybody want to?
Would you grab me one?
I would love to grab you one.
Thank you, sir.
So while Parker hustles to the water, I'm going to ask you to turn and talk to your neighbor. And I'd like you to identify as a pair. Oh, he's back already. Good. 2 values for our congregation that are non-negotiable as we think about a transition in leadership. And that transition isn't necessarily going to mean that some things are changing. But there might be some things that we say, like, absolutely, like, these values are non-negotiable. So what are those? Okay? So take a minute, turn and talk to your spouse, I guess, your partner.
I was going to say the pair that we're all...
Yeah. And 2 non-negotiable values to you.
You're asking a lot. You have to agree.
Wait, 2 non-negotiable that we would want to see embodied in a future leader, or just that we believe 2 non-negotiable values that our congregation holds.
Yes, for our congregation. Yeah. Yes.
Gotcha.
We're going to talk about a person or a hypothetical person in a second.
Okay.
And I have actually a really similar question that I'm going to ask you to think about as you imagine a person. But for now, I'm asking you to think about, what do we value as a congregation? What are our non-negotiables?
Gotcha.
Okay.
Cool.
You have to come to consensus.
Okay.
2.
Okay.
Okay.
Is this part being recorded?
That's all.
Clark would like to know what planography means.
Planography. I've never heard that before.
Parker feels very
And then-
insensitive. It's because you're young.
Wait, what
It's
is
a little board with flannel.
You don't
You don't have a flannel graph?
I just
He doesn't know what
I
it
just don't know
is.
the word. I've done the
flannel graph?
And then you have a little
Gray.
flannel, Abraham,
Yeah.
Moses, and...
We have some
No way.
Episcopalian, so...
Wait.
Because
What's
flannel-
flannel?
Okay, wait. Let's parking lot the...
Actually, I think we need the parking
It's
lot.
after
Is it
yeah.
going on the parking lot?
Yeah, sure.
flannel graph at 101.
Flannels? Yep.
Yes.
I'd love to know. When the graph comes up and it's listed.
This is our core value.
Okay. Pages. Two core non-negotiable values as a church.
I said the supremacy of Christ, so when Parker pulled the seminary card.
Christocentrism.
I just...
The centrality of Jesus.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That is at all times, the focus.
Yeah. That's one.
That's one. And then, I don't know exactly how to say this, but I just think a continued real relationship with the poor.
Yeah. Ours were care for the poor and what was the other one?
The minute we start talking about how we're going to fit a third and fourth service, I don't know if I can do that. that
keep it
vision
small.
of keeping it small.
Yeah.
And kind of,
Yeah. Presuming, again, I almost started asking questions about, presuming we can think we're going to, Anglicanism will say what Anglicanism is.
Right.
Small, in care for the poor, in relationship.
We also said, intimacy, the smallness, the knowing of one another, and then...
Gentleness. And, it's funny, Emily and I both were raised Episcopalian, and so I think I kind of took the liturgy for granted, and for me, my story was being in the liturgy where Christ wasn't really present, and so it was amazing to come in to this Christ-filled liturgy, but then to come, I feel like we've had several interactions with people from more fundamental backgrounds who, for me, God was not particularly scary growing up, but for these folks, God was really scary, and I feel this warmth and gentleness from them. For someone who's known true terror of God and who's come to a place where they've learned the true character of God, and that just imbues our congregation with a warmth and understanding and empathy that is so unique, I think, to that experience. And we have, I think, a significant portion of our population, and it just gives it this flavor that is you can't replicate that. It's really unique and special.
Okay, so given that this is a room full of people with kids in the children's ministry in various stages, I want to ask you in particular about your role as parents and how you have felt supported in your role as parents and what role the church, what steps we could take as a community to better support and minister to parents and children and families in a more kind of holistic or comprehensive kind of way. Does that make sense?
It's hard for us to speak to that because Margaret was born 3 months before the pandemic started, so we've only had kind of an atypical, and coming back, we've had a more typical experience, but I don't know, nothing. I feel like I almost don't even know the resources available to me in some senses, but that might be true for everyone who had a child in the last 18 months to 2 years. It just, I don't know. And not that there's a lot available for 2-year-olds besides the nursery, but like the other day we were like, should Margot take communion? And we're like, we're not. Who should we ask about this?
Right.
Like, who should we talk to? And so things. I mean, like things like that. I think are coming up, but I don't know. I feel like
I see the church as well.
No, go ahead.
It's like I see the church being intentional about providing childcare for stuff, like where we can. I see that as kind of a small thing. Also, this is not as programmed, but like, you know, when Margot is raising praise hands when there's nobody singing in church, you know, nobody's like giving you a stinky glance. You know, people are just really kind when you have young kids, and I think that just goes a long way too. Feel very supported, and that we feel like a welcoming congregation for kids. That's pretty much it. Like you said, it's been kind of a weird season.
Yeah.
We've, just like Amy said, we've been crazy supported, I feel like, from John Mark. And Ben had a little bit of that, Katie, and
Well, yeah. Maybe so.
yeah.
But yeah.
But even now, like, I've got to return a phone call from John Mark. Because before I had COVID, I had talked to him about wanting to read scripture with Jonah, but wanted it to not be my idea. So to see if he could suggest it.
Yeah.
And I had forgotten about it. And he called me a couple of days ago. I was like, hey, I want to circle back. I know you had COVID, but let's talk about that. And outside of any program or thing that they're already doing, he's all in, you know. Again, inviting our daughter to be a youth leader.
At the beginning of the year, too,
Yeah.
he said he met with all the parents of youth, just because that's where we are when we first came. Like, our youngest was in Sunday school for a little bit, but now we're kind of in the youth sweet spot, you know. And so, yeah, he was like, where are your goals for this particular kid? And so, as far as that part of the
When he was,
family, yeah.
when Jonah was a sophomore,
Yeah.
John Mark met with him every week, didn't he?
I think it was
Or
once every other week at
Every other
Waffle
week.
House for like the school year.
Oh.
Yeah, so,
Just
Yeah.
like mentoring.
yeah, so that's been huge. Yeah. Yeah. It was the families, right? For families, that was the question.
I would say that the best thing that our church has done is to make sure that, I think Rachel said this a little bit earlier, but children are integrated into the life of the church. Right? That they worship with us fully once a month and every week for communion and second part of the service.
I love that too.
I think that's actually essential.
Which one of the others are you going to drop?